Hey there, welcome to Schmooze with Suze. I'm Suze Montgomery, your host, and I've got a great friend that's joining us today, and she knows more than just about anybody I know, but she definitely is in the right place with her job, and we should be very thankful. I've got Victoria Jump, and you are is it a director?
Yes.
The director of the Ventura Council Area Agency on Aging, otherwise known as the AAA for those of us in the know. She does all things senior. So anything you want to know, call her. Well, really call her staff, don't call her. So, what's news in the world of seniors? Today we had something happen, right?
We did. So lots is happening in the world of seniors. We're getting older, which is actually a good thing. More people are living longer. They're living better quality of life than ever before. Aging is not necessarily a bad thing, it's a positive thing.
We're trying to turn the whole thing around, correct?
We are.
Well, medical technology, breakthroughs, quality of life, I think boomers. I mean, let's talk about the boomers, because we can't talk about aging without including the boomers, which are my generation, which are going to suck up all the resources because we're going to live longer than any previous generation. Are we prepared?
We are not as prepared as we should be, but I think that we're moving in the right direction.
And why do you say we're moving? Is it legislatively, or the awareness factors, or research? What is it? Why are we in better shape?
I think it's all of the above. You have legislative efforts such as Hannah Beth Jackson's. She just introduced a bill that would ask the state to create a master plan on aging to actually, talk about these issues. How do we provide care for older adults in the community? It encompasses more than just traditional aging-related services, but let's look at how it impacts workforce, how it impacts housing, transportation, healthcare. So it's a much broader look of how you support a whole generation.
So is this going to be like a new department? Or what is she actually? This is Senate Bill 228, right?
288.
288.
I believe.
In fact, I've got it here.
Okay.
What the heck? I downloaded it so we could talk about it. 288, you're
288.
correct. And the thing that blew me away, the statistics.
You can't lie with the statistics.
And you can't manipulate these. I mean, some of these things just blew me away. It says 20% of California's older adults live in poverty, and this number is expected to increase in rise in numbers in the state of California in the near future. We're not prepared.
Overall, statewide, we are not prepared.
Okay, so you, how many people do you have in your department? You've got a robust department, correct?
We do. We're fortunate that we have the support of our CEO, Mike Powers, support of the Board of Supervisors, and they're supportive of aging issues. And so our department has grown over the years. We now have about 40 people.
And you do the work of 140 people and multiple people doing numerous jobs. And I always, when I talk about you, and I do behind your back and in front of your face too, that I always refer to Victoria as like on Sunday mornings when and you know what time I get up. I'm up at 4:30.
An early riser.
Yes, and so is she. And we are texting back and forth 5 o'clock in the morning on issues on aging. We are insane, but we get the job done. And I think it's a collaborative effort, and the county, yes, recognizing the city is impacted by this as well. But you do have a great board of supervisors, and these people make the decisions for us. And you give them the map, they make it happen, right?
Yes, and they've always been so supportive. And they've even been, more forward thinking than I have in some cases. Case in point is former supervisor Kathy Long was reviewing one of our strategic plans that we take to the board to give them the overview of like what we're planning to do in the future with the funding, where we see the needs are in the community. And so we do this annually. And I got a call when she got the draft of one of our plans, and she asked me, what are you planning to do to address the increased rates of Alzheimer's? And she was right. We don't necessarily have a funding stream for it, and it wasn't in our plan because of that. It was mentioned, a few times, but it was nothing of what the county's response is going to be.
Well, furthermore, what's the nation's response going to be? They're not investing in enough for Alzheimer's. You've done something rather unique, though. You were the youngest person they ever gave the job to. You told me that one time, and I've never forgotten that. When you got your job, it was Johnny Johnson, and you must have really done a great sales job, or he could see through your head, and he was impressed with how good you were at such a young age.
I was incredibly fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and at the time I was made the head of the agency, I was only 32.
That is incredible.
And his joke was that he was taking the youngest person possible and putting him in charge of the oldest group.
It's a good point. It's a joke, but it actually was true. So you grew into the job and learned the job because you really didn't have a lot before that to follow. You made this department just grow and bloom.
But I was fortunate that I was given opportunities before. And so before I ever came to Ventura County, I'm not from Ventura County. My husband was born and raised in his family and his family's family, generations back. And, we were fortunate to be able to work in rural Alaska. And so I was given the opportunity to provide elder care services up there. And so it was very similar to what, I do now.
Did you choose elder care, or did it choose you?
It chose me.
I don't really believe in accidents, coincidence, mistakes, or serendipity. I really am you're supposed to be where you are, and I think you not only grow into it, but a lot of people help you along the way because they see promise in you and they see what you are capable of doing. You've exceeded expectations on a personal level. She'll never tell you this, by the way, because I never talk to her about this. We never talk about each other, like friends, like we're always talking business here, right? This is what we do.
You always have a plan.
Oh, yeah. I'm the great planner, right? Yeah, Machiavelli here, but
Why
in a good way.
Do this? You need a program that does that.
Well, and so dementia friendly.
Right.
Tell us about Dementia Friendly. This is one of the newest things we're doing at VC AAA.
Correct, and it's not just us, it's really a county-wide effort, a lot of partners. So this goes back to...
But you spearheaded this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but, I give credit to, Kathy Long.
Well, she had foresight, yes.
And so when she asked, what are you doing about Alzheimer's and dementia, staff went back and researched, what can we do? And this was one of the the responses. And we know that the county doesn't have a ton of money. County's focuses on healthcare, providing, the police, fire, those kinds of services. And so if you're
that's the old fear thing.
It's
well,
important.
It works, doesn't it?
It's important.
But you don't want to think about aging. No one wants to think about aging because when you think about aging, you're talking about somebody dying, right? Eventually that will happen.
People generally have a negative connotation of aging, like that people are old and sick, or they're old and sick and poor, and that's their fault because they didn't plan, they ran out of money. We don't really talk about like the positive aspects of aging.
Correct.
And that having, cancer or being, having limited mobility is not a death sentence anymore. And there are ways that we can provide services to provide a great quality of life for these individuals. And we're always looking for ways that we can celebrate aging and what's good about it, but also figure out a cost-effective way to provide services. And I think, Dementia Friendly is one of these efforts. It's not costing a lot of money. It's just looking at ways that we can, harness the power of other agencies and people in general and change the mindset. So for example, for Dementia Friendly, our focus now is to make businesses dementia friendly. And so we have a website where people can go, businesses can be trained. You can ask for somebody to come out to your staff meeting and train your staff. And it's not a lot of effort, but it has a huge impact on somebody's life. So if you have Alzheimer's or related dementia, the worst thing is for you to be isolated and to be afraid to go out, to go out of your house because you're afraid that you're going to forget things or you're going to get lost or people are going to see you out there and know that something is wrong. And so people tend to self-isolate. It's actually the worst thing. The better thing is to encourage participation and change the environment to allow somebody to have those opportunities. And so we're training, grocery stores, credit unions, retail stores.
And how to deal with dementia, people that have dementia and Alzheimer's.
Correct. And
sensitivity?
It is. It's sensitivity. It's being able to recognize somebody in need. So, for example, if you're a credit union or a bank, you may see, an elderly woman there with her bank card at the ATM that, that has early on stage, onset.
So she's struggling to use it.
She can't remember what to do with the card or how to get, how to get money out of the machine. Instead of everybody just looking at her, thinking what's wrong, or go away.
You're annoying us. We don't want to be bothered.
Go home. It's somebody taking the time to recognize that this is somebody, in need and actually going up and being compassionate and working through, the issue and helping the person get what they need and connecting the person to services.
That is one of the best things I think AAA does. I mean, you've implemented so many new services, and your agency grows with the need, where I see other agencies doing similar work but not providing the need. They just want to keep the status quo, whatever the motivation is, why they don't want to grow, I don't know. That's their own personal thing. But I see your agency forward thinking, and I think a lot of it has to do with you personally, because you do see the need and you are ahead of the curve and you're responsive. That when I decided to retire from my job and just be a consultant, even though I'm on your board, I've been on your board a long time on the VSA AAA advisory board. How many people do we have on? We've got a ton of people.
37.
That's a lot of representation. 2 from each city, and then we have special interest groups, correct?
Board of Supervisors.
The board is, okay, so when I saw that, my city actually put my name in there, and I love it because I learned so much from the other people that are in the room, and we all help each other, and we come up with solutions, but I see they're looking ahead at what we can do to make life easier for our community, and especially our aging population with dementia and Alzheimer's issues. Now, this is a very big deal, and as the population ages, like I said when we opened the show, it's going to only increase, and the demand for services is going to be needed more so. Where's the revenue going to come? So is this you're challenged with trying to stretch a buck. So state, local, where do you get the funding?
It really has to be, a state and a federal. It's not fair to for the state and the feds to ignore it and to assume that it's a county burden. And, federally, there has been an increase in funding for our agency. This past budget year, we received the first noticeable increase in our actual federal appropriations in 15 years.
What?
And this past year, the research for Alzheimer's is at the highest level it's ever been.
And it's going to only increase.
And so I think you have people now paying attention, at least at the federal level. We just have to catch the state up to the feds.
But that's always the issue and the challenge. But I'm looking at why people, and I think we touched on it, we didn't really discuss it, but as the population ages, I mean, I work with them. I'm in the trenches every day, right? You service them. Thank God you're doing what you do. I'm frontline, and I see the changes in my people, and I'm able to sometimes diagnose the progression of what they're going through. And even when their family, who sees them maybe once a week, because I see people in nursing homes, that's my job, that's my teaching. But I see where we don't really want to acknowledge the fact we're growing old and older, because that is mortality, and nobody wants to die. We are a youth-centered culture. So how do you, like Monique Limon, our assembly person, we mentioned her, the very first bill she wrote, you worked with her on Alzheimer's, right?
She wrote 2 bills for us.
See, I mean,
and she's now introduced a 3rd bill on Alzheimer's.
I'm so impressed with her, and you moved that thing. You worked with her hand in hand to move this. When you look back, I know someday you're going to retire. I don't want to look forward to that day, but who would be able to have the passion for your job personally? Because what you and I do, it's a personal sacrifice because we believe it works and it matters. Most people could not do this because it's just, people are afraid to die. We're all going to be there. So you, who have all this knowledge, it's just, I can't imagine the VC AAA without you. I mean, you just add such a dimension to it that you work so damn hard.
Well, thank you for your compliment. But
well, I don't give out compliments. You know me.
Well, and part of it is my job is to do succession planning, and so I am building the next generation of leaders. And
but you love what you do.
I do love what I do.
Otherwise, you do something else. And
True.
But you love what you do because you're serving your community. Was that instilled with you when you were a kid?
Yes.
How so?
My father is a retired military.
Oh boy.
And both my parents are public servants.
So you grew up knowing that this is what you were probably going to serve in some capacity.
Correct.
But not knowing it would be elder.
No, it was never intended to be elder. The plan was children and families, which is about the opposite end of the
Well, your kids are old, and your kids are about ready to fly the nest, aren't they?
Both of them are in college now.
When did that happen?
I don't know. I think they grew overnight.
That's amazing. You got 2 great kids.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's just, it's such a joy to watch you at work and how diplomatic you are, and your staff adores you. I mean,
thank you.
And you work harder than your staff does. I know you do, because I know how you work. And you have a dedicated staff, and they all really care. And that's very unusual when you see it in public service. Most people are there to punch a clock. They're sitting there looking at their watch. They're waiting for the paycheck. They're not sacrificing. They're not dedicated to what they're doing. Your people go over and above.
Well, when we do when we hire people, we try to, gauge how they'll actually be in their compassion.
How do you gauge that without knowing somebody on an interview?
You can ask certain questions.
Really? Diplomatically and within the law.
Right, because, skills can be taught, but you can't teach somebody how to care. And so I can work with somebody and provide them all of the skills in the world. But if that compassion is not there, it's somewhat difficult. You're just going to get a person that's punching a time clock and not, a lot more. And so when we hire for our positions, we have a lot of discussion about, the individuals and making sure that we select the right person. And so a lot of what you see are the dedicated people that we have selected.
They're amazing,
for.
and they do multiple jobs.
And they do it with, without complaint.
No, they're having fun too.
They love it. But at the end of the day, everyone gets to go home knowing that they made a difference in somebody's life, and not a lot of people, have that in their job.
I think that's the most rewarding thing you can do. I mean, serving is so important, especially for populations like seniors. I mean, seniors are so, in a sense, needy. And anybody that works with this population, because you and I always have felt that way, But I see other people, they don't stay, they go. You've got people with longevity in your department. I mean, I look at your programs because I love your book that you know, you've got that great little book. I mean, and that's
Our
not
Live Well guide.
Yeah. And there's so many things to do in there. So when I hear somebody say, you know, my seniors, they're always, I have nothing to do. Are you kidding? I always have a supply in my trunk of my car, and I hand them out. And I sat there and I go, use this as a reference guide. And if you need more information, call the agency. And getting back to what I started with the conversation, and I didn't finish and I didn't follow through, was when I was ready to retire, I'm going, how do I get into the Medicare system? Not that I was excited about doing it, right? But how did I do it? And you've got Catherine Rayleigh, who is in charge of, what is her agency designation?
We have the Health Insurance Counseling.
HICAP. So I made an appointment with her, and I recommend people do this because I have a very dear friend who died last year, and he did not do this. He just thought, I'm smart enough to figure this out on my own, what my choices will be for my supplemental Medicare plan, okay? And also his major provider for Medicare. It's not that easy to figure out. So I made an appointment with Kathy Rayleigh. I went in there numerous times because I had 1,000 questions, and she navigated me through the system. I would have not made the right choices. I definitely would have made bad choices. He made the bad choices, and then he calls me up and says, well, I picked the wrong plan. I go, well, did you call her? No, I didn't call her. And so he was out of pocket a lot of money for his cancer treatments and ended up dying because he could not afford the cancer treatments. It's difficult to understand how to navigate that system. And I don't know if they do that deliberately or not, but it is confusing, right? You have to think to yourself, how does the average senior figure out where to go and what do they need if they don't have any knowledge of the VCAAA?
Well, it's getting the word out there so that people hear about us and they can come to us for help because it is incredibly complicated.
It's confusing.
It is.
I mean, look at the programs that you have. You've got classes. You've got
fall prevention, a problem.
Which is going to what we discussed on the phone this morning with Hannah-Beth Jackson, and that was fall prevention is going to be a big thing with this new aging czar. Where'd they come up with that title? You know, it's like aging czar. What happened to the female? Don't they know we have 60 new women in Congress here? I mean, come on. But I get the concept.
Right. We're just thankful that she's forward-thinking enough, at least at the state level, to ask for a cabinet-level position that can bring all the state departments together and really have a conversation about how we're going to handle the aging population. It should have been done a long time ago, in my estimation, but it hasn't, but I'm grateful she's doing it now. And I mean, she's really jumped on this train. And I mean, you and I have been banging the drum for how many years, but it does have to come from a state level. And Newsom, I understand Governor Newsom, our brand new governor, dropping the train and going to pick up on the aging issues, which I don't know if that was a lateral move or what. But I'm grateful that he is cognizant of that and going to do something. And that was one of his campaign promises.
Yes, it was.
He said that he was committed to the aging population.
I guess he read the letters I would send him every day, right?
I guess he did. So.
Gee whiz, how about that? I think he's very sensitive to that issue, and I don't know what his family history is, but sees.
I think his father just recently died of dementia.
Oh my God.
So
he's got a personal interest.
He understands, but he also came from San Francisco, and they actually had a master plan for San Francisco, and so he sees the example and how it can work. So I'm hopeful with the bill and with his leadership that we can at least move the needle on it and at least have the discussion. We can do everything we can at the local level, but we need the financial support of the state.
And we're going to get something, and we're also going to get this aging czar. What a crazy title.
Or czarina.
Czarina, yeah, somebody said this morning. I really see that this can definitely enhance what you do and provide more, and then the community is enhanced by that. we work with the city. I mean, look what came, we got the thank you for the East Side Cafe funding. We have this board that gives suggestions to, you know, your departments. And the East Side Cafe I'm referring to is down by Salvation Army, where we got money from the VC AAA, the city did, and we actually opened a lunchroom for free lunches, or, you know, if they have enough money, they can
Donation.
donation based to throw a couple bucks in the pot to pay for their lunch. And it's a healthy lunch. And it's a community source of people getting together more than anything else. I think that's why it works so well.
And that's really what the intent is. The people that are not, you know, isolated and lonely, that they're part of the community. And
Well,
giving them that
isolation kills
opportunity.
because that creates depression.
It
And then
does.
they isolate
And declined health.
and they decline in health and all the issues that go along with it. I am so grateful that you are still there. I am so grateful the job you do. Mikey Powers, if you're listening, she's doing a hell of a job. But I'm really glad you're there and that we have you. I shudder to think what happens if you ever decide to retire. I hope you don't in my lifetime. When you retire, I'll retire, okay? All right, we're not gonna.
Deal.
Okay, you're on. So thanks for being with us. I'm grateful. There's gonna be resources on your screen that Victoria's department can actually give you and point you in the right direction for what you need for resources or advice, or just go in there and see them, visit and see what they do. They're part of the county. They're over by the government center. Thank you for being my friend for all this time, and I love you to death.
Aw.
And thank you for watching, and come back next week.